G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle, and today we're going to be looking at a few different things Warhammer related. Warhammer Plus, we're going to talk about some Bandai release, something that's been griping me, and we'll finish it off with a little announcement I want to make about some upcoming content. So, first things first, Warhammer Plus. We have this little advert here that's come out in the latest news on the Sunday previews. About event extras and Warhammer Vault and free exclusive miniatures, animation, apps, exclusive TV shows. They're pulling out all the stops. Interesting to see. So there's a few different ways you could rationalize this. There is the, hey, I'm getting value for money. There is the pragmatic approach. There's also the super cynical approach. But we'll kind of just try and cover off on all of them as one homogeneous blur. So, I think the first thing that will pop up for people is the exclusive miniature. That exclusive miniature is not an instant give. That is you must be subscribed to this service for 12 months to get one of those two miniatures, which means you either need 2 accounts to get them both, or you need to have the account for a couple of years to get them both. So if you're a collector who wants them both, that's going to make your problem more difficult, especially if those models make it into the hands of eBay sellers or something like that, where they're going to be scalped for large amounts for those who didn't pay for the service. So, on the one hand, a person could say, it's worth it just for those miniatures, but you could also say that it's really not, because a person might turn around, and this is the argument I commonly see, is people say, a miniature like that on its own is $36 US, it's only $60 a year for this, that's a great deal. No. It's something like this could be $36 if you bought it from a Games Workshop. Sure, but why would you be buying it from Games Workshop? Why not an independent retailer? On top of that, it didn't cost them $36 to make this model for you. They got essentially a pre-order a year out for this model. So you're not getting a great deal there. There's a difference between actual value and perceived value, and this is perceived value. It's kind of like when they're doing it with the price right here, $5.99. It seems like less than $6 because it's $5.99. Technically, it's less than $6, but shit gets rounded up. It's $6. End of the year price, $59.99 US. It's that same sales tactic. You think, hey, it's a good deal because if I bought this model from Games Workshop directly, there would be a lot of money. Yeah, okay, but it didn't cost a lot of money. It's like comparing a Star Collecting box to a regular box of, say, Tactical Space Marines or something like that. One has perceived higher value than the other, but you're forgetting that the box that's cheaper is not necessarily discounted. It's just the regular retail price. The other box is inflated, is the way I would look at it. But that's just me. So, free exclusive miniature, yeah, you're paying $60 for it, potentially. Free access to their apps. Some people say that's good value as well. It costs, $3 a month or something to have the app. Okay, cool. There's a lot of apps out there that are free and do the same job. But if you want their one, great, good for you. I think, in fact, that can apply to the exclusive shows and things like that. For me personally, is that there's a lot of value being offered already on the internet in the form of far, far better painters than Games Workshop has, producing way better content than what Games Workshop can. And this thought also applies when it comes to things like the quality of the animation. It's all good and well for someone like Death of Hope to release, 1 minute of footage every 6 months. You'll let that slide as the average person. But if it's $1 billion company bankrolling that, will you let it slide 1 minute of footage every 6 months? No. So you're going to expect high quality footage much more often. Will the supply keep up with the demand? That's what I'm curious about. And I think that applies across the board when it comes to Warhammer Plus, that as a service, Warhammer Plus is going to be very underwhelming, in my opinion, and they've got to try and make up for the lack of actual content by providing things like the apps and the miniatures and such. Then you've got things like the event extras. Well, okay, VIP tickets. What does that mean? You have a subscription, you get to go and play like a Warhammer Citadel or something, and the event is, it's only open to subscribers or something, or you get free tickets. Okay, what happens if you don't have a Warhammer Citadel? Do you get refunded that portion of the product that you aren't using? I highly doubt it. So there's some problems there. Access to the Warhammer Vault. Okay, what's in the Warhammer Vault exactly? Don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they have in there, if there's some real tidbits that are just pure gold, or if it's just a lot of the back catalogue of contradictory stuff, non-canon stuff, and other flotsam that's floating around. So the point of all this is not to be negative as such, it's just, let's look at it realistically, guys. Compare this to, say, Netflix subscription, or an Amazon subscription, or a Stan subscription, or a Disney Plus subscription. I mean, Warhammer Plus clearly modeled after the Disney Plus concept, isn't it? We're not good enough to share our IP with others. We want it all hosted on our own platform. They're sinking megabucks into it, but I don't know that it's worth the value for money. I am not going to go out and pay for this service. It does not interest me in the least, because it doesn't have enough unique content relating to them that I can't get elsewhere for better or cheaper already. And that's really what it boils down to for me. But for you, the average person, you figure out what suits you best. That's honestly the only way to look at it. So, moving along from Warhammer Plus, let's take a look at Bandai. Gravious Captain, nobody's favourite miniature on the tabletop, and now they're releasing it in a large-scale version. So, first thing I'll point out is, looking at the quality of the miniature, this is a pre-production prototype, probably 3D printed, at a guess, judging from the little lines and striations across the surface of his armour, which are not present on the Space Marine to the right. So that's two things straight away that sort of stand out to me. That, and the gold paint is also a different shade, which means it's probably been hand-painted as opposed to the large batches of paint. But gold is one of those colours that's very hard to cross-match across multiple different batches. So, not a downside or anything like that, not shitting on it. Just that's the nature of the beast. But the one on the right looks injection molded, very smooth all over, whereas the one on the left, you can see a lot of little lines and fine striations across the surface of it, a lot of surface texture that shouldn't be there. So, Gravious Armor, Gravious Captain, nobody's favourite miniature. I think that's not an over-exaggeration to say. I think it's a very underwhelming miniature for the majority of people. What's interesting about these Games Workshop upscalings is they don't add any more detail. The standard Primaris Space Marines have the basically exact same amount of detail as these do. It's almost like they took the model and literally just scaled it up. They didn't add any extra fine detail in, say, the lenses of the eyes, or in the little cabling that's plugging into the helmets, or more segmentation in the armor plates, more rivets, joints, color, tonal variations, things like that. No, it's very, very basic. The only thing I could say about the Captain is at least the chain is a separate element to the rest of his body. So normally when you upscale something, and scale models will tell you this, when you take something from a smaller scale and increase it up, you get a marked difference in quality. The amount of detail that gets picked out on, say, going from a 1 to 72 scale Panther battle tank or something, going up to like a 1 to 6 scale Panther battle tank. Holy crap, the amount of extra detail you will get. And it's kind of a shame that they're going up to this scale. It's like they wanted to be one of those premium collectibles you see when you go to one of those nerd shops that sells, like the replica Game of Thrones stuff, and, they've got the swords hanging on the wall, and, the Doctor Who drinking cups or something off to the side. I don't know what they sell those places, but this feels like, when you go into one of those, you see like a Captain America statue and an Iron Man statue on the shelf. That's what it reminds me of, but it's nowhere near as nice a product as that. This product is more like a Gundam in quality, which you would expect because it's a Bandai product with a Games Workshop coat of paint slapped onto it. So, overall, what do I think? Well, I don't care for the Gravious Captain. It's not for me, but there's got to be someone out there who really likes it. So, that's obviously who it's for, with the Excellent stenciled lightning coming on the sword there. I'm guessing a stencil. It looks like a stencil to me. Not a great job. The power cabling / bolter ammunition cabling on the arm is very underwhelming. It looks very funny in these pictures, how twisted up it is. So clearly they've just run either a piece of elastic or a piece of aluminium inside a bunch of little plastic blocks. It doesn't look right for something that's apparently spraying 6 bullets at once out into the air. That's neat. And yeah, looking at things like that big seam in the middle of the backpack nacelle on the top left there, and you can see all the little texture striations in the shoulder pad, clearly a prototype miniature. Which makes sense, because it won't be shipping for 210 working days. So for those who aren't counting, that would be sometime in March next year. What am I, 23rd of August? Probably around 21st, 22nd March, something like that. Next year that you would get this if you ordered it today. In theory. And at $550 dues, I think if you buy this, what you do with your money is up to you. That said, you can spend your money poorly. And this would be a prime example of being a fucking idiot if you were to buy this. You're rewarding a very bad consumer practice where you're paying a lot of money for not very much return. And at 550 Australian dollars, that's not American dollars, something like 300 and something American. At 550 Australian dollars, that is a lot of... That is a lot of dollary dues, yeah. Give people an idea. You could buy a decent car, like one that will last for a couple of years, an old clapped out one maybe, but it'll last for a couple of years for $550. $550 is less than the minimum repayments on my mortgage on a 4-bedroom house. That's a lot of money, yeah. If you buy this, you're a fucking idiot. It's that simple. This is just a waste of money. And for what? I mean, if you collect this sort of thing and it floats your boat, good for you. I'm not going to tell you you can't buy it or you shouldn't buy it. That's not a call I can make. But I can tell you it's a dumb buy. Like giving your credit card details to a Nigerian prince. It's stupid. Not saying you can't do it, but it's stupid. And buying this would be very stupid. It doesn't make me angry. It doesn't even make me sad. In fact, I think it's a little bit funny because I think it's taking the piss because it's such a ludicrous amount of money. Even if you played the game, that is almost 2 of the original starter sets for 9th edition 40k right there. That's scalper prices for 40k. You could buy a whole 40k army for $550. And for what? A Gravious Captain? Who wants a Gravious Captain? At least make it someone interesting like Marnius Kelgar. Like give us Space Marine character heroes in this kind of scale, and maybe possibly it'd be worth the money. But again, compare this to other collectibles and other products you could get for the same amount of money, and it comes up woefully short. So if you by all means want to go and spend your money on this, you do so. You do you. You have every right to spend your money how you see fit. But it doesn't mean it's really stupid. It's like when you see a rich person do something, like buy $1 million diamond necklace and then just throw it into the ocean or something. That's what this is, okay? It's that level of stupid. You're just taking good, hard-earned money that can be used for something beneficial in your life, and you're going to waste it. Because that's what this is. This will not be worth $550 to on sell later on. This is probably going to drop down to $150. resale value. And then maybe in 15 years' time, it'll become a real collectible, and then it'll be worth the 550 again. And if you ever grow out of love with Warhammer, then it's really going to suck that you spent $500,000 on this mod. $500,000, like, that's an insane amount. That is the entire Vallejo paint range, practically. One of their big paint boxes, like, with 160 paints or whatever. That's how much this costs. Like, this is insane. You could do so much good for yourself with that money, guys. Okay. Need to move on. So the other day, I brought up the Horus Heresy matched play. And how we don't have match play in Horus Heresy. And how it doesn't annoy me as such. It doesn't piss me off, anything like that. Which is immediately where I think people's heads go to if you point something like this out. I like to put up posts on our YouTube and Facebook through the day about things like this. I don't want to give them full videos, but I just want to point out that, hey, this is the thing. And that's really what I'm saying. This is a thing. And people get really shitty about it. And they say, oh, well, talk about picky on little things, nitpicks, whatever you have. Well, it depends what you define as nitpick, because, again, this is not someone working in their basement. This is $1 billion company. And you expect a certain level of quality based upon the size of the entity that's providing it. And so when I look at this, I think, is this what I expect of $1 billion company? You should not understand that matched play is not a thing in Horus Heresy. Now, to some, you rightfully can turn around and say, hey, that's a nothing issue. They probably just mean equal points, something like that. Okay, it's not an issue. I never said it was. The problem, though, is that they clearly don't understand their own system. And even if they're using a shorthand to describe it, it doesn't matter, because there are people out there who don't play 40k and don't know what matched play is. There are plenty of people who only know Horus Heresy. People who, when 40k 8th edition dropped, said, I don't want a bar of this, and they stuck with Heresy, and so they don't get it. Match play isn't a thing for them. So when you say it's a Horus Heresy match play event, their eyebrows raise, and they go, what the fuck? And then when you explain to them, oh, it's an equal points competition, you can't just take whatever you like, people will go, oh, that's Horus Heresy already. I don't get it. What are you changing? What does match play actually mean? You see? Because match play is basically just Horus Heresy. It doesn't need a name because that's what the game is already. And then it got amplified today because I scroll down through our previews and you see something like this, and it's like, oh, 2 cool new Praetor models. I don't mind the look of these. They're nice models. But then you see they describe them. The first is bedecked in intricately decorated Mark III power armor armed with a power sword, while the other dons some pretty colossal Cataphracti Terminator armor, wields a power sword and a Vigil pattern storm shield. Except he's in Tartarus Terminator armor, not Cataphracti. Again, is it a big deal? No, it is not a big deal. Can't stress this point enough. So people say, oh, it's a nitpick. No, I'm not picking on the typo. If you can call it a typo, it's a whole word. They deliberately put the wrong word in. What I'm picking on, if anything, is the fact that you have a $1 billion company who can't get the basic tenets of the hobby right. What is called what? Now, that doesn't seem like a problem on the surface, but let me explain why this is a problem to me personally, and I think for many within the community. The reason is that if they can't get something as simple as the name of a set of armor, or the name of the type of rules that will be used to play an event, or the legion number of a specific legion correct.
We bring the Plague Father's blessings to an empire starved of mercy. We are the sons of Barbarous, a world slain in ignorant rage. We are the Death God. We are the 7th Legion.
If they can't get these things correct, what hope do they have of getting the game correct? Now, you can say things like, oh, but the game is written by a different person to the marketing team. Yes, it is, but the game is infinitely more complex than putting out a 2-sentence description of what the fuck armor a model is fucking wearing. That's the problem. Is it a big deal? No, but consistent failures in the attention to detail is a problem. Because if they can't get something as simple as the power armor right, or the Terminator armor right, then what hope do they have of understanding the Legion rules, of understanding the complex interactions on the tabletop of your game? And this is why shit comes out broken, guys. It doesn't matter whether it's for 30k, or for 40k, or for Age of Sigmar, or for any other game system that the company creates. Not paying attention to little details is how you end up with overpowered shit. And that's when we're being generous and saying that it wasn't deliberate to drive sales. That's why it's an issue. Do I care that they make a mistake? No, I care about the quantity of mistakes, the consistency of the mistakes, and the simplicity of the mistakes. If they spelt Tartarus wrong, I wouldn't care. But calling it cataphracti when it's clearly not shows that they do not understand what it is. That's the problem. Because Tartarus and cataphracti play two very different ways on the tabletop. What if a person who's ordering this miniature online saw that description and thought they were ordering a cataphracti armored model, and then it rocks up in the blister pack and they open it up and hang on, man, this is Tartarus. What the fuck? That's a problem. And that's why this shit matters. You got to look at the big picture, not the little picture. In the little picture, it's a nothing. It's a typo, who cares? But in the big picture, it's a symbol, a symptom, as it were, of a larger problem within the organization. And that problem is a lack of attention to detail. I mean, think back to that Nurgle trailer. They wanted to preview the new faction for the Blade Marines coming out in 8th edition. Wow, their own codex all to themselves. First time in history that they're having their own Nurgle-specific codex. And they call them by the wrong Legion number. They call them the 7th Legion, which is the Imperial Fist, the Death Guard of the 14th Legion. You think how many hands something like that had to go through? How many people who work in the higher-ups had to go through animators, it had to go through the people putting in the subtitles, they had to go through the people doing the voiceovers. Like, yeah, okay, they probably hired a voice actor, but someone had to write them a script. It then had to go off for approval. It had to go through editors. It had to go through the marketing department. It had to go and get signed off probably at the highest of levels. Probably went all the way out to Roundtree himself to promo a new edition and outlay that financial expenditure of creating an animated short. And yet it went out with that typo built in. That's a major, major issue. And so that's why these things matter, because if they can't get those simple things right at all those levels, it does not bode well for the system. Now, all that negativity aside, not that I think it's negativity, I think it's just objective fact, which doesn't care whether it's negative or not, I want to talk about something positive, and that something positive is I want to redo the Getting Started Horus Heresy series. I want to do a Getting Started 2.0, as it were. I want to talk about the legions as they are in the current rules, because I think the original Getting Started videos, there are mistakes in them. Small mistakes. Some have larger mistakes. They need to be covered off on. We also have FAQs that have come out since then. We have a different selection of miniatures available since then. The question is when do I start this process? I could start it straight away, yes, but if there is a potential Plastic Heresy release and potential new rules late in the year, well then I should probably wait until that point. And so I'm thinking probably sometime October, November that would happen. Therefore, it should be an October-November window that I try and slate this for. I want to go back, almost start the Heresy series from scratch. Not to say that everything we've done is a write-off, but so much of it interacts differently now because things have changed in the sort of 3-4 years since I started that series. And it's my favourite series that I've got to work on my time on this channel, because it represents more the side of the hobby I love, which is I don't want to be out here making videos about shitty corporate actions of Games Workshop. I want to be out here creating videos about my hobby that I'm interested in and seeing the lovely stuff other people are interested in about this hobby, which is why we do things like showcases. And yet we do those showcases and people, they don't necessarily flock to them. They flock to the videos where it's salty, and they really flock to the videos where it's nothing but praise for Games Workshop. So really, I should be making those kind of videos if I really want some money. But anyway, those are the kind of things I'd prefer to be talking about, is the good stuff, the actual hobby content, providing that to the community rather than being just known as the salty guy, because that's really not me. I'm pragmatic, yes, but a lot of my gripes and complaints come from just exasperation as a person in the community. What I'd rather be doing is saying, here's how to get into this game, because at the core of it, it's a great game with a fantastic background universe, and that deserves to be shared and given a chance to shine in the spotlight. So that's my plan going forward. I want to revisit the Horus Heresy. I want to go back through with what's actually available is the crucial thing there, because so much stuff has gone last chance to buy and just disappeared, whether it's decals, whether it's upgrade parts, whatever. And so a lot of my videos they're going to be confusing to people if they come in. When they look at my video, they look at the stuff, then they go on the website and they don't find it. So I need to create a format where I show you, and then I go through, perhaps, like I did in the originals, and go to, say, Games Workshop and say, these are miniatures you could use. Forge World, here's miniatures you could use. And then I also, in the video, go to maybe third-party sellers and say, hey, these are alternate miniatures you could use if you don't want to use Games Workshop products and you don't intend on playing in their stores or something. Because if you don't play in their stores, you don't necessarily need to use their miniatures, do you? So that's the route I'd like to head down. Whether that involves 3D printing or third-party retailers, I'm not sure yet. But that's probably the route I think needs to be taken here. And I want to showcase that side of the hobby. So anyway, that's all for me for this, this will be Monday. Monday, the 23rd of August. Thank you all for watching the episode. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And I'll see you all on the next one.